found it. And now you're listening to Heart of a Volunteer Veterans Podcast, where we have conversations ranging from our service time, personal development, family, mental health, and much, much more. Welcome and enjoy the show.
All right. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode here on Heart of a Volunteer Veterans Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chris, and we got a great episode for you. Veteran Gold, baby. That's how we do it. Nothing but Veteran Gold here. Well, hey, I know it's been a while. I took a little bit of a break. Obviously, the last episode I did was about the tornado. At any point in time, you're going to have to exercise a little bit of battlefield patience, right? When it came to the house after the tornado, I definitely had to, at one point, just stop trying to do things because I couldn't do anything and kind of set and wait for insurance to do their business. And at the same time, take a little time to get equipment back together for the podcast, which ended up working out really well because we got something brand new here for the show. And so far, it's proven to be pretty good. So it feels good to be back recording conversations instead of just having them on the street corner. And today we've got a returning veteran coming on to co-host. If you remember 2 episodes ago, we talked to a veteran down here, lives in my neighborhood, about bird dog training. We've got my good friend, and your good friend, if you ever met him, Zach Carpenter. Zach, welcome to the show, my friend.
Good to be here again, Chris. I like this new equipment. It's it seems a little bit more spacious in here this go round.
It doesn't take up as much room, and it takes less equipment, I would say.
I mean, just from last time, you've got less equipment out.
Right.
You know? So, I mean, that little black box you got there, it's, you were telling me earlier, showing me some different stuff. That's a pretty interesting little gadget right there. All the buttons and everything, just the stuff you can do with it.
Well, this thing is, it's the same company that made the last one. So the last processor we had was the Rodecaster Pro. Well, this is the Rodecaster Pro 2. And it's got like special effects built into the smart pads, and you can put music on there, and you can do a lot more with the music. Like right now, this background track is on repeat, so it's just going to keep kind of playing in the background, and we got more control over it and a lot of the effects. I mean, you can even drop a little echo in there if you want to.
Yeah, it seems like it's a better piece of equipment. I mean, it sucks you lost your last one, but I mean.
What was even crazier is the insurance only gave me a couple of $100 for the last processor. And the new one's only $100 more than the last one. So this is $700 compared to $600.
Well,
which is, there's thousands and thousands of dollars worth of preamps built in that, and just the process and the AFEX processing system alone. So works out pretty good, man. And the firmware updates are free.
Oh, that's not bad then.
Yeah, works out pretty good. Hey, so I've been away for a while, man. What's been going on down here in the neighborhood, man, for the last 30 days? I think the big question I want to ask you about that is, how are your folks getting along?
They're getting along pretty well. We got the pad clean, the old house foundation's gone. Trailer house is gone. We got the trees cut down that we're going to be in the way of building the new house, setting the foundation for it, Had to run a stump grinder yesterday, and the teeth on that thing were like ball peen hammers.
Right.
Yeah, they hadn't been changed in a while. It took a good chunk of time to get through those stumps. We did 3 stumps, and it took a huge chunk of time.
Wow.
Yeah, and of course, Dad, he's like, we're getting rid of all the trees. So there's not a stitch of shade around. So you're just out there baking.
Right.
And I mean, I was sweating buckets yesterday. I think I went through like 1.5 gallons of water yesterday. And Bob was out there with me, and he was in the pen. And every time I'd stop and I'd go get a drink of water, he'd be over there going, you gonna come let me out?
Right.
Come over here and let me out.
Right.
I want to run around, But fence is gone. I mean, they've got there's supposed to be a guy in there today dumping dirt, starting dirt work put the pad down
Right.
and everything like that. I think he's coming tomorrow now. Something happened with him, his job, his actual job, not his side business. But I mean, we've cut down, I think there's 4 trees total left on the property
Okay.
between give or take 1 or 2.
And those were big trees too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were big oak trees.
Old trees. Yeah.
Old trees. But one of them really had to go.
Yeah.
It was, it had a bend in it from years ago, and we're lucky that the bend didn't take the house out itself
Like before the tornado.
before the tornado.
Right.
You know?
Another high wind night.
But the other good thing was about those 3 trees, they held the house up after the tornado hit. They held up the north wall
Right.
because the north wall was like 2 feet off the foundation.
Okay.
And from the dining room to about halfway to the kitchen, that whole corner of that wall was just hanging out over the foundation. And it was
Wow.
pinned against those trees by the 2 cedar trees
Yeah.
that fell on the other side. So that really held the house up, and it allowed us to get the stuff out of the house.
Right. You know, it's funny, man. Like, I look at the studio and the way it was just smashed, right?
Oh yeah.
But I look at like other people's place, like where people were living, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you had walls that fell onto things, and there were family members like just in these little pockets.
Mm-hmm.
Totally fine, just scared, right?
Yeah.
But then you've got other places where had somebody been in there, it would have been
Well, that was
completely
like
nasty. If I'd have been in the studio, it'd be nasty work
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to get me out of there.
that was like Tanner.
Yeah,
You know, right up the road.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he was upstairs in his little
pull him out of there.
2-story. I mean, yeah. But yours, I don't know. I think we would have been looking for you back over here in Coreland.
I don't know.
You
Man.
know.
I think I probably would have been buried in all that debris. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I
I,
don't know.
mean,
I hate to think about it, so we won't.
yeah.
We'll just keep on moving.
Yeah.
Hey, so your folks have lived out here for a while, man, and of course you went to school out here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about, and to the listeners too, just kind of the flow, the ebb and flow of like the population and just building and people, doing things
Yeah.
out here at Sherwood Shores. We're kind of at the end, we're at the beginning of the lake, right? Where the Red River
Yes.
comes under the bridge
Mm-hmm.
and starts to fill. So we're kind of at the beginning. What do you know about kind of the history of this area in terms of that?
Well, the history of Lake Texoma, it was dug by the World War II German prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
They were housed out by Gainesville, just north of Gainesville,
Okay.
a little west. And if you go over there, you can actually see the foundations of the buildings and stuff like that were there.
All right.
And there's a couple chimneys out there. Buddy of mine, his family owns a bunch of ground out there, and part of their ground is on the actual Army base that was there. And they own the ammunition where the depot was.
Right.
And so every so often they come out there and they do a sweep for unexploded ordnance and stuff like that. And they've found some out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It had just been buried over time, and now with the winds and everything like that, they come uncovered. But it was built, it's built back in the 50s,
Right.
and from everything that I was told in the 70s, this end of the lake was the party end of the lake,
Okay.
But then you had all the big marinas start showing up on the other end of the lake closer to the islands.
Right.
So everybody started kind of gradually going back that way. This was a retirement community area.
Sherwood Shores.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a lot of older folks. They just come out. It was real quiet when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there wasn't hardly any traffic out here. Real quiet. We used to run around.
So like fishing lodges,
Fishing lodges.
just like little houses, just
Yeah,
for,
little houses.
Yeah.
But as kids, we'd run around. We ran all over Core Ground
Yeah.
and ran up and down the roads on bicycles and everything like that. Didn't have to worry about getting run over, nothing like that.
Yeah.
This is before the mad craze of golf carts and side-by-sides.
Right. They're all over the place here.
Yeah, now. And kids driving them. That's the scary part. I saw 2 girls driving one while you were gone, and they were dragging a tow strap out of the back of the cart.
Yeah.
And they were just, they were on their phone. They had a phone. They were making videos or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if that thing gets hooked on something,
Yeah.
because it was tied to the supports of the golf cart.
Oh, that would suck.
Yeah. I was like, man, if that thing hooks on something, that is not going to be good. But the population increase started, I guess, a couple years ago. People started moving out here.
Back this way.
Yeah, back this way.
Right.
But it's not so much from like Sherman Denison area. It's all from like Dallas and Fort Worth, that area. They're moving up this way. They're buying these derelict properties out here. They're doing good work. I mean, they're improving the properties. They're making them livable. And then, they're telling their friends, and then their friends are coming out.
Right.
And now you've got a whole bunch of city people out here on the weekends. Like this weekend, it's going to be nuts.
It's going to be packed. Yeah.
It's going to be packed. There's going to be fireworks going off all over the place. Sherwood Shores is going to be its own firework display.
Right.
And then you got the casino right across the river. They're putting on a fireworks show.
Right.
Usually.
Now, is there a concert going on over there at the same time?
They had one last weekend. I don't know if they're going to have one this weekend.
I heard they had one last weekend.
Yeah. And apparently it was a doozy. From one of the guys that works there, he was like, man, it was early. And people were coming in, and they were just plastered.
What, Justin Tucker, something like that.
Couldn't tell you.
When he said his name, I mean, I knew it. I just can't remember it now. But said it was a good show.
Was it Josh Abbott?
Josh Abbott.
Yeah.
Josh Abbott band.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen him before.
Yeah.
But I'm just not a big crowd person anymore.
Right. No, I get that, man. I get that.
But there's gonna be people all over the place. There's gonna be four wheelers and side by sides and golf carts running around. Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy weekend.
Right.
Cedar Mills is gonna be jam packed if it's not already.
Yeah.
Thousand Trails, they're gonna be packed.
Right.
Just because campground, they've been packed for a while.
Well, I went to Pelicans at 8 2 nights ago, and I'm up there at the register, just kind of hanging out, just kind of waiting to walk in and find a table. Right, I was going to do a little writing while I was there, and this guy comes in and goes, "Hey, I'm looking to rent a golf cart." I mean, he was trying to get a golf cart for the weekend because I guess they rent them at the ship store.
I didn't know they rented them there.
I guess so. The lady goes, tomorrow morning you got to go to the ship store if you're going to get one. So, and then you got that place over by you that they rent.
Yeah, they rent the toy
from.
box.
Yeah, that's a pretty good idea.
I saw that, and there for the longest time because they had those kayaks on the outside of the container.
Right.
I was like, how are they keeping them there?
Oh, they're probably locked.
I couldn't see a lock on them or nothing like that, and I was like, man, how are they honestly keeping those things there? Maybe
it's the boldness of it all.
It might be
where somebody's like, hey, those tied up? They're not.
Well,
don't steal them.
I went
don't
by.
Don't steal them. You just left them there out in the open. Somebody's waiting to snipe your ass.
I went by because I think it's the same people that have that little little RV rental place right behind it.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was going over to the bait guy, Mike. And I was going to go over there and talk to him, see how him and his wife were, and get some, just general fishing information.
Right.
See what's been going on because he does a lot of business with the striper guides on the lake. Like a lot of the striper guides go to him to get their equipment. So I was over there and I was talking to him, and he's good friends with one of the guides that goes out of Cedar Mills, Charlie Stringer, and I fished with Charlie a couple times before, and his daughter went to school with my sister, and a buddy of mine that I grew up with married her.
Right.
So I've known Charlie for a real long time, and he's like, oh yeah, they're catching them, but when I went by there, I looked, and there's 2 cable locks on those kayaks.
Okay. Yeah.
But they're not tight. They're like really loose. I'm like, dude.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question about this Charlie Stringer, man. Since you've been out with him and you enjoy his the service he puts out, you got some contact information we could put out if veterans want to come up and use him as a guide?
I do not. I know if you go to Cedar Mills, like I think they have his contact information online because he's part of their fishing, what they call the fishing fleet.
Okay.
There's like 3 or 4 guides that are there
All right.
that operate out of Cedar Mills.
Okay, I got you.
But Charlie, he's a good one. I've fished with him a couple times, and my dad's fished with him more than I have, and they always have fun. I mean, when they go out, we took my brother-in-law on the last trip we went out on him with, and my brother-in-law, he's one of those guys that has his own way of doing stuff,
Right.
and he's a good guy. When it comes to fishing, though, man, he's just got his own way.
Right.
He catches fish his own way. Might not be the biggest, might not be the most, but he catches them.
Right.
And but he's good to my sister, so.
Right. Well, hey, man, it kind of seems like we were talking about like the abandoned properties. Before the tornado, it seemed like there was a lot of them where people weren't coming around and mowing it. They weren't fixing it up. If a tree limb fell, they weren't really coming and fixing it up and stuff. But then once the tornado hit, there was like a little period of time, and now people are coming back and actually.
There were some properties like that, and they were properties that people used for vacation homes,
Right.
Or they were just sitting there, like the place right over here.
Right next door.
Yeah, right next door.
Yeah.
That place, I've never seen anybody there.
It's sold.
I've never seen a soul there. And the entire time I've lived out here, I've never seen anybody there.
Yeah.
But there'll be updates to it and stuff like that. I'm like, when did that happen?
Apparently, right before I left, like on the 23rd of last month, somebody bought it.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a big thing right now, too. I mean, you and I were talking, I'm getting mail, regular mail about people wanting to buy my property.
Right.
And then you said you were getting texts and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
I mean, I've got 5.5 lots. It's one of the bigger lots here.
Yeah.
And with a lake view now.
Yes.
And and the Army Corps of Engineers, they're supposed to come through and thin that back out, I guess, is what Lloyd, the veteran over here, was telling me. They're supposed to come do some work on that. But
Well, they better gate it up. They better finish that pipe fence they got up first.
right.
Keep them side by side and everything out of there.
Yep.
But I probably know one of the reasons why they're wanting to thin it out, and that's because of there's some squatters that live down there
I have seen some of that. Yeah.
with nefarious activities.
right. Don't give them a place to hide.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's one reason they're probably wanting to thin it out. And two, I don't know why they would actually thin it out. They'd never had before.
Right.
The most they ever did was put up that pipe fence to keep people from going down there and mowing it so they could actually see the lake and going down there and cutting the brush and stuff.
Well, when I first moved here, the owners were telling me that I guess there was a lady that lives across the road, across Lake Road. Obviously, you can't live on the lake side of Lake Road.
Yeah.
But she went and had that cleared,
Yes.
and they came over and like, what are you doing? Like,
Yep.
oh, I'm clearing that for a little lake park. No, and they fined her,
Yes.
and they made her pay for that that
Yep.
fence that went in.
Mm-hmm. Because that's Corps of Engineer ground. That's like there's an old FFA camp over by me.
Right.
And it's tucked back there by where the Cedar Mills trailer park is and little housing area is.
Yeah.
Right as you come past Thousand Trails on the right-hand side, you get to where all those little trailers are on that S bend.
Right. Right.
That's the Cedar Mills, one of Cedar Mills' living areas type deal.
Okay.
You take that rock road that bends up and around in there, and that's actually the old FFA campground. Well, that sold, I think, maybe 5 years ago. And a guy went in there and he cut down a lot of trees, all cedar trees.
Mhm.
And the Corps found out about it. And they fined him so bad he had to sell that place.
Really? Well, I mean, was it in the contract that he had to leave the trees?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
He should have read the fine print.
Yes, he should have.
What a clown.
Yeah. But they were talking about putting another camp out there. And I haven't seen anything done with it. But, of course, most of the time the gate's locked.
Right.
You know, which it should be because a lot of people drive their ATVs and UTVs back there and tearing the place up.
Dumping stuff and
Oh,
things like
yes.
that.
Bad.
That's one of the things I kind of worried about was like having, and that's one of the reasons I was glad to get like all the junk off here before I left was somebody being like, well, I don't have a dumpster. I'm going to go dump it over here.
Yep.
And they just start dumping stuff. And then, you know, I was always worried about people dumping, like filling one of my dumpsters up
Oh, yeah.
at night, right?
Oh, yeah.
But got lucky and then no one did.
Yeah.
So-
That's like when we were doing the cleanup up there at Mom and Dad's, you know,
Yeah.
we had, I think it was Doyle,
Yeah.
the guy with
yeah.
the Doyle, you know,
Yeah.
he was bringing in dumpsters and then we'd set them on our property and then the neighbors right next to Mom and Dad were like, hey, you got stuff to throw in here? Throw it in here.
yeah.
You know, don't matter. Just don't let the people across the street do it.
Right. Right. Crazy.
But, I mean, there's been places out here for years, you know, that are derelict. Like, right when you come down Hillcrest and you're coming down here, you know, you come down that hill and you go through that dip
Right.
where that trailer was on the left that the tornado wiped out.
That was hanging into the low ground, like kind of off its pad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hanging out into that pond
Right.
that they had dug.
Right.
You know, I remember when that ground was nothing but timber.
Okay.
I used to hunt that. I used to squirrel hunt it.
Okay.
And then it sold and they put that pond in there.
Right.
And then they put that trailer on there. But yeah, when you come up that hill from that place on the right-hand side, you know, there's that old house there.
Yeah.
The roof's falling in and everything like that.
Right.
When I was younger, there was somebody that lived there for about 2 years. And then ever since then, and this is back in the early 2000s, you know,
Yeah.
ain't nobody been there.
Right.
But I mean, I've never seen anybody do anything with that place.
You know, somebody was telling me that they've come out here and looked like this place across the street from me that's just covered in trees. And that house is banged up now from the tornado, right?
Nope.
Somebody's like, man, we've gone to the county and tried to find who owns this. And sometimes the records are so old that it's like it's just passed on. If you go and buy some of these properties, you got to pay the back taxes because they ain't pay taxes on them.
Yeah.
So you got to make some kind of deal with the county, some kind of deal with the state
Yeah.
in order to purchase it. It's I don't know, man. Hopefully, like you said, hopefully there's a good influx of folks coming in. Because when I first moved here, man, there was places being bought. They were getting fixed, getting painted. People were coming in on a regular basis. And of course, the tornado hit, and then
Yep.
now you're starting to see a lot of clearing.
You're
People
seeing a
clearing
lot of clearing.
and then, I mean, home prices are expensive, man. So
Yes, they
hopefully there's some good crews that are come in and build some of the littler homes, right? You don't need a full blown house here.
No.
You need something that's going to survive a tornado.
Yes.
So not a trailer,
No. Not a trailer.
not a metal studio building.
Not,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You need a real home. Just hopefully there's some people that can do that because there still are people out here that need a place to live
Yeah.
and not a vacation place. They need a real place.
Yes.
They own the ground. They need a real place to live.
Yeah. And I mean, there's crews out here building places. Like
Right.
there was 2 little vacation homes behind my mom and dad's trailer.
Right.
Both of them, you know, they didn't really get touched like necessarily that bad, you know, but they completely tore them down
Yeah.
and they're rebuilding them now. But there's a lot of crews out here doing a lot of clearing.
Yeah.
And I think some people are fed up with dealing with it. And so they're just, you see a lot of the influx in selling from those people just being like, look, I'm just going to sell it.
Right.
You know, I'm just going to get what I can out of it and leave.
Right.
You know, my mom and dad talked about it,
Yeah.
you know, because they've got 7 lots up there.
Yeah.
And they were like, look, we could just sell it and be done
Right.
and move wherever. And of course, like my place didn't get touched, but I'm looking at moving anyways.
Right.
You know, moving to an area where the land prices aren't so expensive.
Right. Well, hey, let's take a quick break, man, and let's talk about you and I, both of our ideas in moving.
All right, yeah,
All
let's
right?
do that.
So let's take a quick break, and we'll jump into that.
Are you a veteran who likes to laugh? Are you proud of your service?
Oh yeah.
But you don't slap others upside the head with it? Maybe, just maybe, you're one of those joker types, always keeping folks on their toes. If those statements describe you, then you need to check out ChummyVet.com. This apparel brand was started by my good friend Ryan and the Chummy Vet himself. With time down range as a GWAT veteran, Ryan celebrates the hilarity of going from war zone to civilian life. Chummy Vet puts military experiences into everyday context, not the other way around, and the designs are absolutely hilarious. Did you do some really hot yoga in Ramadi or Kandahar? Maybe you yodeled in the Hindu Kush mountains of Afghanistan. And who doesn't want to support a great cause like an A-10 Warthog gun run? Go to Chummy Vet today and pick yourself up a t-shirt that will make your buddies laugh and your lady friends giggle.
All right, everybody. Hey, we're back. Zach and I, we were talking about people selling their homes, man. And during the break, you and I were talking. Of course, we talked before.
Oh, yeah.
About my plan to purchase property, build a home, or buy a home down in Belize, and kind of use that as kind of a vacation spot. But the tornado, man, just kind of did something completely different. There used to be the studio here, used to be shop, yard for the dogs. It was just kind of like a happy place, right? Place to do so many things. And kind of with that gone, it just kind of changed everything for me. To where the point, I went down to Belize for 17 days looking at places. Started in the south, moved away kind of up to the north, and then kind of shot inland towards Guatemala and looked at some places there. But what is your plan, man, as far as, as the future goes? I know you got the dog training, and then, additions to your life that are happening. What is your plan, that you're looking at?
Well, I'm looking at selling my place, and I'm going to be moving to Groom, Texas. It's about 30 minutes east, 45 minutes, something like that. Depends on how fast you drive, away from Amarillo to the east. It's a little bitty place. I think they got 2 gas stations.
That's all you need.
Yeah. A Dairy Queen. Now there's a grocery store. There's a liquor store right up the road from the house. There's a small hardware store. I talked to those guys. Went in there one day, and older guys, and I was talking to them, and I was like, hey, you got blanks. And they're like, blanks? We don't carry ammunition. I was like, it's not ammunition. I go, it is ammunition, but at the same time, it's used in construction. And they're like, oh, no, we don't carry anything like that. And on the door, it said Pedigree or Purina sold here. And I was like, hey, you have dog food, Purina Pro Plan or anything like that? They're like, no, we just got like horses, cattle, stuff like that. I was like, okay. Little bitty place.
Right.
Mostly agricultural stuff more than anything else, because they got those big, I forget what they're called, but the big long line of irrigation that goes out in the field with the wheels on it. They do the circle crop out there.
Yeah, irrigation.
Well, except it's above ground and it just wheels around.
What do they call that? Center point?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Something like that. I worked for a place that had, that's all they did.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of that out there is that.
Yeah.
And so, and ground out there is much cheaper. Much cheaper than here. Here, an acre's going for like $75,000.
Yeah, I feel that.
And it's like, I remember when it was like way less than that.
Right.
Last year it was 55.
Yeah.
And I was like, 50 for an acre? I paid that for my house,
You know, I was talking to, I didn't ask you about this, but I was talking to Tom. My property value for the county went up from 147 to 197.
Mm-hmm.
Tom said his went up 107,000. What did yours go up? Your value?
Since I've bought my house, I've had my house for 7 years.
Yeah.
And I bought it at 55.
Right.
And now it's appraised at 125.
Right.
And I'm like, there ain't no way. I got like 3 lots. That's what I've got, 3.
Yeah.
Because that's what is required to actually build on.
Right.
I'm like, 125 for 3 lots?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Right.
I'm like, well, I might as well sell.
Right.
You know? But, I mean, I found some land out there, like 62 acres for cheap.
Right.
You know? Granted, it's got a pump jack and a storage tank on it. It might have 2 storage tanks on it. But all I'm going to be doing is running dogs out there.
Right.
You know? Maybe shooting some pigeons. Because there's a granary right up the road, and I saw pigeons flying around. Had one in the groom yard.
Right.
You know? I tried to get Megan's son to catch it for $1. You know? Like, hey, you know, you go catch that pigeon, I'll give you $1.
Now, what's the possibility of putting, raising birds on that property?
I would most likely look at doing that.
Yeah.
Because the nearest bird supplier is about 3 hours away. But I really want to look at that property at the same time to see if it already has birds on it.
Right.
Megan asked me when I was out there, she goes, hey, if you buy a piece of property and it's got animals on it, are you going to hunt it? I go, well, it depends on the animal. She goes, well, if it's got deer on there and it's got quail on there, are you going to hunt that property? I go, I'm going to hunt the deer.
Yeah.
I go, I'm not going to touch the quail. I go, I want them there.
Yeah.
You know, because the population numbers in Texas are so low anymore. And that's due to us changing our farming methods and things like that.
Well, here's I'll say this here, man. Your level of conservation is great, man. You really remind my grandfather when it comes to like his management of native birds, native grasses on his place. He's like, he doesn't want you hunting his turkeys. They came there naturally. He wants them to be able to do their thing, and he's very much a conservationist, man, like you. And
turkeys, I'll take out. I'll take turkeys out. They're bad. They actually do damage to quail.
Oh, to quail, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Now, as far as
My grandpa doesn't have a lot of quail on his place. There's some, but not.
no, y'all probably got pheasants where you're at.
Yeah, big old pheasants and
Yeah.
big old turkeys, man.
Yeah, I'm
And
looking at doing some
and
pheasant
big deer
hunting.
and antelope too.
Yeah, I'm looking at doing some pheasant hunting. I want to see how Bob will react to pheasants.
Yeah.
You know, he does good on quail. You know, we've had such a long break in his bird training because you can't get birds around here right now.
Right.
You got to drive way over to East Texas or way over to West Texas. I'm talking like 5-6 hours away
Right.
just to be able to get birds. And at that point, it just doesn't become feasible
Right.
to do it. And even pigeons are scarce.
Yeah.
I mean, around here, you really can't find anybody selling common pigeons, which, I mean, people that sell pigeons online, they're wanting like $18 a bird
Right.
because there's some special racing pigeon or tumbling pigeon, something like that. And it's a pigeon,
Yeah.
you know, which is a good thing because there's a granary up the road from Groom. So I can go talk to them and be like, hey, you guys got a pigeon problem?
Right.
I'll trap them pigeons for you.
Yeah.
You know, just don't shoot them.
Right.
I want those pigeons,
Right.
you know, and start, you know, working Bob on pigeons because the closest place out there is like 2.5 hours away to go get birds. And I mean, I'm just like, man, that's a long way to go
Right.
to go get birds.
Well, that's why I was thinking that maybe you would build something where you could have. I mean, even if it was just something small, man, where you'd have your own supply that maybe you could grow it from there.
I have
maybe
talked
get
about
some sponsors or something to help out with it.
Yeah, I've talked about doing that. Just raising enough birds to train dogs with, because you don't have to shoot every bird that you put in front of a dog.
Right. Right.
You know, but if you're raising birds out there, you have a natural callback already built in. Those you let a bird go, they're going to come right back.
To the roost, yeah.
They're going to come right back to those other quail.
Right.
And all you do is put little traps out and catch them in there, add them right back in.
Right.
You know, guys that sell birds, like up north, places that we go to, dog training, stuff like that, that have a couple 100 acres.
Right.
And they've got 4 or 5 fields, and they have like a couple 100 quail that they're selling, and then some guys have ducks, things like that.
Right.
Them quail come right back if you miss them.
Yeah.
You know,
So if you bought a 20 quail from up north, came down here, if you missed them, they're flying home.
No, they won't fly home. No. Because
like old Yeller, man.
Yeah, they ain't flying that far. Trust me.
Right.
Because most of the time, you're not throwing out 20 quail at a time. Right. You might go through 20 in a day. You know, but you're putting 2, 3 out at a time.
Right.
You know, if you miss one of them and they have a pen close by where the other ones are calling all the time.
Yeah.
They're gonna go right back to them.
I got you.
You know.
Okay.
That's normally what they do. And then you can take a little cage and you wall off. You put a little food, a little water in there, take a live quail and you stick it in there. And then on the other end, you have a funnel that the quail can get through.
They just can't go back out.
They can't go back out.
Right.
You throw it down on the ground. That one starts calling because it's by itself. So it starts calling, and any quail in that area are going to come to that call.
Right.
And they're going to go in there. And then you go pick it up, and you got all your quail back.
Are you now? How long does this process take? I mean, like a day, a couple of days. Do you ever go out there with a kind of set weight, look for coyotes to come in?
If I was raising birds out there, yeah, you can bet I'll be sitting out there with the rifle waiting on coyotes.
Right.
Yeah, I'll be hard on them.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Always used to do that in prairie dogs, man. We had huge prairie dog towns in Clark County up there in Kansas, man. We just ride the back roads. Like, this is a good one. And we'd stop and we'd shoot them for a while and move to another one.
I've been to Lubbock several times because my sister went to school there.
Old Bach.
And I was out there in Bliss, so I'd go see her when I was in Lubbock, and she'd talk about these prairie dog towns.
Oh, yeah.
And she'd talk about how behind one of her favorite restaurants there was a prairie dog town, and she'd take her leftovers out there and she'd throw them out there and they'd come out and get it, and run back in. She just thought it was so cute, and I'd never seen one. She never took me to the prairie dog towns, probably because she thought I was going to shoot them.
Right.
I probably would, but I saw one last time I was in Amarillo, and I was like, I thought they were these little bitty things. This thing was like this tall.
They get big.
I was like, it looks like a groundhog.
Yeah. It's not like a chipmunk. And sometimes you can go out to the town and you'll see little ones look like little chipmunks, but they get big, man.
Yeah, I was like, that looks like a groundhog.
Yeah.
Because last time I was up north, I worked for a guy doing some trapping, and he had a trapping business where he goes around and he traps nuisance wildlife, so coons, birds, whatever. And we got a groundhog set that we had to do.
Right.
And this groundhog, it was probably 30, 40 pounds.
Oh, wow. And
I was like, he's like, yeah, that's not even a big one. I was like, dude.
They used to come out there and poison them. Mm-hmm. And I don't, for some reason, and this is people are probably listening to this, but like, Chris, shut the hell up. I want to say they put rods in the ground too and use it as like around inside their little town, and just let lightning strike those rods. And I guess it does something to the ground and either shocks them or drives them away.
Wouldn't surprise me.
One of the two. I know they definitely poisoned them. And then there's some places where they actually, you can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
I think Dodge City has an area like over by the old Walmart. It's just a field. It's got them in there. Kind of protected, maybe, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. I don't live there no more. So.
I know there's some place you can go. They do like a prairie dog shoot. I don't know if it's on private property or not. I've seen it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Them talking about it where they start out close and they just keep, as the week progresses, because they're out there for a week doing this.
Yeah.
They start out close, and as they just the week progresses, those prairie dogs, they just keep staying
moving.
farther and farther away, and these guys just keep bringing out different guns
Yep.
and touching,
Yeah,
that
reaching out
far
there.
away, and I'm just like, I mean, it seems like a waste of ammo,
Yeah.
because you're not going to eat the thing,
Right.
so
Well, if it's somebody's field, it can do a
Yes.
lot of damage to cattle or to
Yes.
a horse.
they can, and
and
I
so-
understand that fact. If you're running cattle out there, you got livestock out there. I understand that fact.
Well, you've noticed that, like, if you're driving along, when the prairie dog town exists, they strip it clean.
Yes, I know.
That's another thing is like, like my grandpa, big time conservationist, right? He stays in the very same paths he drives in, because if he drives off, you're taking grass from the cattle.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way with them. They're taking grass and resources, from his cattle. So he was always trying to get rid of them. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I completely see, doing stuff like that for ranchers, and
Yeah.
farmers,
Yeah.
Even if it's your private property, whatever, for me, I'm just like, I'm not going to shoot the thing if I'm not going to eat it,
Right.
if I was going to eat the thing, yeah,
Yeah.
but
I think you probably can eat them. I don't know.
you can eat groundhog. I've ate it.
Well, we have a groundhog dinner back in my hometown.
Groundhog's pretty
one
good.
of I think the Methodist church, maybe they put it on. It's good, man.
It is.
My mom used to. We would go there, and you could eat, but you could also buy sausages to take home.
Mm-hmm.
She'd get sausage and some sauerkraut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we'd bring it home, and
Yeah, groundhog's good. Beaver's good.
I haven't eaten any beaver from the water. Yeah, I haven't done any of that.
It makes good sausage. Yeah, the water beaver makes
Right.
it makes some good sausage. The guy that I trap with, he was gonna do a beaver set, and I was like, dude, you got to do it while I'm here.
Mm-hmm. No, what is that? What's a beaver set?
You use one of those square Kelowna bear traps most of the time, and it traps them in that.
Right.
But you set it in the water most of the time, and they swim through it. You put it on their slides and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a guy on YouTube, I think he's in Alabama or somewhere like that does it for a living. That's all he does is trap beaver. And he tans the pelts, stretches them, everything like that, sells it, and then harvests the meat, and he eats the meat.
Right.
And the guy I was trapping for was like, yeah, we'll go out and we'll do it. We'll make almost like pulled pork out of it.
Okay.
He's like, dude, it's some of the best meat you'll ever eat. I was like, well, let's do it,
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, he waited so long that I wasn't able to go. Like the week I left, he's like, hey, let's go set these, beaver sets. And I'm like, I'm already gone.
Yeah.
You waited too long, man.
Hey, I wonder, I've been in the spirit of talking about conservation, man, because I've been talking to some folks and then watching some videos on tearing down the dams, right, on these rivers, right? And when they tear off the dams, they've been trying to rewild some of the areas, and so they incorporate beavers into it for them to build natural dams, right?
Yes.
I wonder if he sells any for that purpose,
No,
just kind of rewilding,
no, this is all,
just getting varmints.
yeah,
Yeah.
nuisance trapping type deal.
Right, right.
That's normally what he does from when I was watching him. I've never really seen anybody set live traps for beavers. I'm pretty sure that would be pretty interesting
Yeah.
to set a live trap for a beaver, because normally they're, those big save a heart or have a heart traps.
Yeah.
They're square, and the bigger they get, the heavier they get, and you got to be able to make sure that thing works right, because it's got a lever in there. Because I've used them before. I've actually got one, but the traps go by the weight of the animal.
Right.
So I don't know how big one would have to be to incorporate a beaver.
Because a beaver would tear the shit out of something.
Yes,
Man.
I've seen some big beavers.
Well, you've seen the beaver sign down here. The trees they mow down over by the RV,
Yeah.
the RV lot. I went walking back there. I mean, they took down some good trees. And you look at their teeth, man. Their teeth aren't regular teeth like
No.
we have. They're
No.
made out of some other kind of
Yeah, like titanium or
alien
something.
business,
Yeah.
man. All yellow and
Orange
ready.
titanium.
Yeah, orange. There you
Yeah.
go, orange. Yeah, it's nuts, dude.
I've seen some big ones. They got some big ones up there at Blue River.
Yeah,
During trout season, you can go up there and you can see them sometimes. I mean, I've seen one of the biggest beaver I ever seen up there. That thing was sitting down on a waterfall.
yeah.
I guess he was fishing. I don't know, but that thing must have been 3 foot tall.
That's nuts.
I
Dude.
mean, I was like, "What is that?"
That's nuts.
I'm like, and my dad goes, "Oh, that's a beaver." And he goes, "That's a pretty big one."
A fucking small man.
Yeah, I was like, "Holy cow!" I was like, "You gotta be kidding me," you know?
Yeah. Hey, so man, the move to Groom.
It's gonna be an interesting deal, you know. We were talking about, you know, the future and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my future kind of changed back in, let me see, March, yeah, around April. Megan told me she's pregnant,
Yeah.
you know, and we're gonna be having a little boy.
Gotcha.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna name him Gunner. And she came up with Barrett, so his name's Gunner Barrett.
Right.
And so the dog training deal has got to be either raising birds or training dogs, and maybe starting the guide service up. You know, doing that full time. So he's got something he can fall back on if he wants to.
So kind of like Carpenter and Sons dog training.
Toby Squatch and Sons.
Yeah. So I mean, it can continue to move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and either dog training or training dogs and, you know, running a guide service,
Yeah.
you know. But like you were telling me yesterday when we were talking, you know,
Dude, get that chest rig, man.
Get the
and put it-
chest rig for him, you know, and take him out there.
Yeah.
You know, he'll probably have to be on my back just because of the whistle, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but take him out there.
But dude, he'll
you
be
know,
right over your shoulder.
you know,
Zach,
let him start doing.
Zach, I got to tell you, man. I got to tell you, I've got to know you, you know, since we met, and I'm excited for you, man. You've got a lot to offer as a father. You're gonna be good, man.
I hope
I'm
so.
excited, bro. I'm excited for you.
Me and my
I know
buddy.
you're, man. I know you're nervous, bro.
Oh yeah,
You're
nervous. Yeah.
You can't fail at this. You can't fail, man.
One of my the guy I served with, I lived with him.
Yeah.
You know, his name's Begley, William Begley. He lives in Indiana. He's got 2 kids. One should be born, you know, in the next couple days. And it's crazy. He's going to have one, you know, supposed to be on the 3rd of July, you know, and then mine should be by probably Thanksgiving is when mine will be here.
Right.
And me and him were talking about that. I was like, man, you know, just imagine this for a minute. He goes, what if both of them joined the Army, same jobs, and they actually ended up meeting
Right.
in the service like we did?
Right.
He's like, dude, that'd be awesome.
Well, you know, the thing is, if you guys, if you and your buddy continue to be friends throughout their lives,
Oh, yeah.
they can go in on the buddy system.
Oh yeah,
They don't have to be from the same place,
yeah,
and then they're linked again.
yeah. Oh yeah,
That'd be cool, man.
Every
2
time I go
generations.
to Indiana, you know, for a dog trial or anything like that, especially if it's at AMO.
Right.
If I go to AMO, I call him. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be in AMO, man. And then he takes a day, and him and his wife, or well, it might as well be his wife. They've been together long enough.
Hell yeah.
They come down. You know, they bring the kids. His oldest, McLean, he's got very mild form of autism. They said he should grow out of it as he gets older.
Right.
You know, but he's a little heathen. You know, and
Right.
that's what me and Begley were talking about. He's like, man, I hope, because he was telling me this kid that he's having now is in the 100th percentile for everything.
Size and
Size, everything. He's like, man, this kid's going to be a monster. Then McLean, he's a little monster himself. You know, he ain't no small boy,
Yeah. Right.
you know? And I'm like, man, dude. He's like, I hope this one's not a knuckle dragger. He's like, man, we got to do something so our kids ain't knuckle draggers like us. And I was like, I know.
You got to have the infantry, man. But you have to have an engineer or an intel guy or gal in the group.
I'm hoping Gunner, I hope he gets some of his mom's brains.
Right.
You know, she's a nurse, so I'm hoping he gets some of her brains. You know, but I just thought it was funny when he was talking about, hey, I hope they're not knuckle draggers. And I was like, God, I hope not.
Hell yeah.
But I'm hoping he loves dogs more than anything.
Oh, I'm sure he will, man. Little boys love dogs. They like being in a field. They like bouncing around in a pickup truck.
I hope so, because that's where he's going to be.
That's what you do best, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Driving down bumpy roads, driving behind dogs, watching them run, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like I was talking earlier, you know, can't get birds for Bob, so what do? You know? I got frozen birds, you know, frozen quail I lost most of them in a tornado. I lost about 30 of them, but I still got some, you know, so every now and then you just pull a frozen bird out and you take the blank gun out and, you know, do training with a frozen bird.
Right.
And that keeps them interested. You know, Wednesday I was in town and I had him with me. I had to go to the VA. Another story entirely. But we had to go wait at Walgreens for a prescription. It was getting kind of hot, you know, so I pulled him out of the box, put him in the truck with me in the cab and the air conditioning, and I let him go over to these bushes. Well, this little baby mockingbird flew right over his head and landed right at his door. And he came around me and saw that mockingbird and, immediately locked up on point. Did not move, nothing. And I walked over there and flushed it underneath the truck. And as soon as I flushed it, he dropped down to mark it going underneath the truck, you know? And then he looked up at me. I was like, all right, let's go, you know?
Had he ever been in that situation before, marking underneath the truck?
Not marking underneath the truck, but marking in general.
Yeah.
He is a marking fool.
Right.
You know, you throw something, he's watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, birds, when we're out retrieving, like he's distinguished enough between what I look at as far as game birds when they're flying around.
Right.
And he's picked up on that. Like, if I'm not paying attention to these birds over here, he don't pay attention to them, like the cardinals and stuff like that. But if I pay attention to it and it's a bird,
he's like, that's mine.
Yeah. He's on point. There was a baby blue jay that fell out of the tree when I was mowing and groom, and it fell right next to the fence. And he came around and slammed a point on that bird. And even though he was on the other side of the fence, he held that point, and I was on the opposite side. I went over there and picked that bird up and set it in a tree, told him no bird. He took off.
Yeah.
You know, didn't move, nothing like that. So, there's been instances where birds have been introduced and he's pointed them, held them. Granted, they're not really the birds that I want him to point.
Right. But that rep.
But they're birds. You know, they're moving and he's holding.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm looking for. You know, but I've been running him down the road. You know, I take him over there to Fob Bottom, run him down that long stretch.
Yeah.
Do retrieving work with him, you know, which enhances his marking skills. Been playing some new games with him as far as retrieving. Got a blank launcher, a dummy launcher.
Right.
You know, I'll launch that off in the water, and that thing goes about 50, 75 yards.
Right.
You know, so I'm swimming him because it's so hot.
Yeah.
So he runs, and then he swims.
Yeah.
So by the time we get home, he's tired.
Right.
And he lays down, you know, but we started doing a deal where it's a different number of retrieves every day. So we go out on his working days because you got to give him rest days.
Right.
You know, and right now, normally fall, wintertime, it's like 2 rest days. During the summertime, I give him 3.
Okay.
You know, and we'll go out, we'll do 3 retrieves, done. That's it. That's all he gets.
Right.
You know, if he messes them up, he doesn't get the retrieve. Still gets only 3 throws.
Right.
And he's progressed to doing even better because he doesn't know how many retrieves he's going to get.
Right.
He might get 1 that day after his run. And if he messes it up, he doesn't get to do it.
Right.
And that boy, he loves retrieving.
Yeah.
That's his go-to thing is retrieving and finding birds. You know, and
now on those rest days, man, are you taking him down to the park and just kind of letting him swim?
oh, I still run him because the running is the exercise part of it.
Right.
You gotta give that dog a place to get that energy out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the morning time, he is so wound up.
Right.
He's bouncing off me, trying to wake me up. You know,
wanting to get out there. Yeah.
Wanting to go out and run.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the exercise portion of it.
Right.
And it's about a mile and a half that he's running between 25 and 30 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's getting it.
Right.
And then we go into the actual training portion, polishing portion, because it's not really training anymore. It's not hardcore, hey.
You're not table breaking him anymore and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's polishing, making sure everything's good down, nailed down tight.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever we go to hunt tests, granted anything can happen in a hunt test, and it always will.
Right.
You know, but the fundamentals are polished on. You know, they're there. Don't really have to worry about it.
Right.
You know, and on those rest days, it's run. I bring out the Chuck It launcher, and he knows when that Chuck It launcher comes out, he knows it's playtime. He knows he's been doing good.
Right.
You know, it's just free retrieving for him.
Heck yeah.
You know, I just tell him, okay, he takes off. I throw the ball wherever it's at. He goes and gets it, brings it back. We're doing it again. You know, it could be 15, 20 throws that day.
Yeah.
You know, in the water, I'll throw it in the water for him, you know, let him swim around, you know, get good and cooled off. You know, 15, 20, could be more, could be less. Just depends on how hot it is.
Right.
And him, you know, if he's swimming and his tongue starts hanging out the side of his mouth,
He's working too hard.
yeah, it's time to go.
Right,
you know,
right.
So we'll load up and we'll go back to the house.
Heck yeah.
And that's the same thing on his weekends because it's usually Saturday, Sunday. Because out here it's so busy.
Right.
You know, and this weekend I got real lucky today. Monday's going to be a different story. You know, luckily there was nobody down there today.
Right.
I figured
They haven't gotten here yet.
Yeah.
Right.
I figured, well, normally it's, you know, Thursday night.
Right.
Usually it's a 4-day weekend type deal.
Right.
You know, Thursday night, that place is packed. I was like, oh, man. I drove down there this morning. I was like, I'm not seeing anybody. You know, let's turn him out.
Yep.
Turn him out and go.
Nice.
You know, and so tomorrow it'll be field running. You know, I'll turn him out in the field. We'll walk. I'll let him run around me in the field, and then probably do free throws, stuff like that with him, and then load him up, take him back home. You know, his off days are, you know, exercise, fun retrieves, you know, maybe a little bit of swimming if there's a spot we can get to.
Right.
Being this weekend, ain't going to happen.
Right. Well, man, I hope the training keeps going well, man. And I want to hear more, and I think we should bring you on the show and talk about the move, how things are going, and I'll do the same thing on my end.
I mean, I'm looking at. I went to town, like when I went to the VA. You know, I had time to kill before I could go get that prescription at Walmart or not Walgreens. Excuse me. It was a medicine the VA doesn't handle.
Right.
You know, because we get the cream of the crop medicine there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But so I had to wait on it, and I was like, you know, I need some boxes. So I went to this place that sold U-Haul boxes. Walk in, I go, hey man, you guys sell U-Haul boxes? He goes, yeah. He goes, I only got the large size left. He goes, I only got 6. I was like, fine by me, I'll take all 6.
Yeah.
You know? So I got the boxes. I took all of my military uniforms and gear out to groom already. I did that duffel bag, rucksacks, things like that. You know, all my uniforms from DCU, BDU, ACU, and then multicam. They're all out in groom along with my Class A's.
Right.
They're all out there. You know, now I just got to pack up the clothes that I normally wear because I need to get rid of a bunch of them. Hoarder. And dressers, you know, recliner, stuff like that.
So are you going to move there, like even before, if your place doesn't sell?
Oh yeah,
Still going to move?
yeah.
And just kind of keep working on it?
I don't foresee the place not selling being an issue. My
Right.
dad asked me that this morning. He's like, "Well, what are you going to do with your house?" I was like, "I'm going to sell it." He's like, "Well, if you move out there and it doesn't sell, what are you going to do? You just going to let it sit there empty?" I go, "I don't think it's going to sit there that long.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
You know, with the influx of people moving out here,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to take that long."
I think even with the economy, I think it's going to be it's a good sale, man. But we'll, you know what? We'll come on and we'll do another episode. We'll talk about hopefully both of ours and what we got planned.
Yeah, it might have to be over the phone by then.
It may have to be.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, good episode. And I'm glad to be back here, man. I'm glad you stopped by the other day so we could have a little chat.
I was waiting for Kim to leave. I didn't know what, I stopped by and dropped off the key, you
Yeah.
know, and I saw Kim was here. I was like, give him some time,
Right.
didn't want to interrupt anything. I didn't know if y'all had plans, going out, stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I was like, I'll wait till Kim leaves, and I drove by and you were out working. Hey.
Heck yeah. Well, hey, man, enjoy your 4th of July. I'm sure I'll see you. Everybody else out there, enjoy your 4th of July, right? Enjoy your 4th of July. If you like the podcast, subscribe. If you really like the podcast, share it with a friend. But above all else, be safe, be blessed, have a safe weekend, and we'll catch you next time. Copyright Heart of Volunteer 2022.